What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Mets Post, where we bring you the latest in Mets news. I am your host, Brian Cameron, and on today's episode, we're going to follow the numbers to put together the offer that was submitted by the Mets to Juan Soto, Steve Cohen's brilliant approach to his meeting with Juan Soto, and what's next for the New York Mets. Let's get it. On the recording of this show, we can officially scratch off Blake Snell off our list as he has signed a 5-year, $182 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Hats off to him getting that big deal. But that's not why we're here. We're here to discuss the superstar free agent, the man himself, the myth, the legend, Juan Soto, who Mets fans have been dying to have in Queens for the longest time. And when approaching this idea of Juan Soto, when actually thinking about it, you got to kind of grab the tidbits a little bit here and there and put it all together. So let's start with the Monday column by Bob Nightingale, where he said, the Mets are the clear-cut favorite, executives say, simply because they don't believe there's a soul who will outbid owner Steve Cohen, while Yankees have a price in mind that they don't want to exceed. Imagine how refreshing that is to hear, where the Mets can actually overpay for a player and the Yankees are actually fearful of paying too much for a player. What a quick turnaround this has been in this new Steve Cohen era, where the Mets are grooming a phenomenal farm system. They have a pretty good roster at hand, and they're on the cusp of landing a generational talent like Juan Soto. But how much will Juan Soto actually cost the Mets? So grabbing the tidbits here and there, Carlos Barrega reported that the Mets' initial offer is for $660 million for 15 years. Hold on to that. Michael Kay then reported the Mets are willing to go $50 million over what anyone else offers. Which, hand in hand, I mean, Steve Cohen is the richest owner in baseball, and you would expect nothing less from a man who wants to see his team hold the World Series trophy. Now, as of today, it has been reported that the Mets, Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Dodgers all presented their offers last week. So the bidding war has already started. They've laid out the groundwork of what all teams are willing to offer. From my understanding, from reading all the reports, is that the Mets are the only team to have a true serious offer on the table. Now, take note. The rumor is Soto wants 15 years for $700 million per Brandon Weil. Carlos Barrega reported the Mets offered $660 million for 15 years. Michael Kay reported that the Mets are willing to go $50 million over what anyone else has to offer. So if you're grabbing all the breadcrumbs here, it sounds like the Mets are in line with what Juan Soto wants. And could it be that this is just a matter of time that we see Juan Soto donning the beautiful blue and orange? Or is Juan Soto taking the approach of using the Mets' money to possibly get more money from the New York Yankees or another suitor? That could be a thought, and it would definitely be a haunting thought for all Mets fans, as that's the last thing you want to hear. But here I am to tell you why that's not the actual truth. The actual truth is, yes, the Mets will offer Juan Soto the richest contract out of all his suitors, but the Mets have more than just money to offer for the young superstar free agent. When coming to Queens, Juan Soto will get the continuity of an owner that's willing to spend big to win big. Steve Cohen has been on record to say that he wants the Mets to be just like the Dodgers, where they're spending big money, bringing big names in to win big championships, and more championships at that. You also have the presence of David Stearns, who's probably a whiz at what he does. And you also have Carlos Mendoza, who's shown that he's a whiz at what he does for this ball club. And he brought together a team that was nearly down and out pretty much. They were not expected to reach the playoffs at the level that they reached it at. And this team rallied around Mendoza, they rallied around each other, and they made things happen with no expectations around them. And that right there, with the pivotal pieces of Lindor in place, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Alvarez, Mark Vientos, who had a breakout season, and the possibility of the Mets bringing back Pete Alonso, which I purely do think that they will take that approach after a Juan Soto decision has been made. But as of right now, that's just pure speculation on my part. I do believe that the biggest domino that's going to fall is the Juan Soto domino for the Mets, whether he signs with them or not. If he doesn't sign with them, I would expect of Steve Cohen to go on a bit of a rampage of adding superstar pieces to this roster to make sure that next season, they are able and in position to take out the Dodgers, who have a loaded pitching rotation, and a guy like Juan Soto could really be a difference maker for this lineup. Another key thing is, like I said, Steve Cohen is willing to spend big to win big. So the Mets can actually sign Juan Soto to a huge deal. They can end up signing Pete Alonso to a big deal, bring in Corbin Burns to another big deal, and still have money to spend in adding pivotal pieces. I do believe if they do sign Juan Soto, then you can expect them to go after Corbin Burns. You can expect them to definitely re-sign Pete Alonso. But not only that, you can actually expect them to gauge the trade market. Maybe go for a guy like Luis Robert from the White Sox, or even Garrett Crochet, a pitcher from the White Sox, which would be a great addition. This team is built to win right now. Their lineup offensively is definitely going to be one to fear in the upcoming season, but the pitching rotation needs to be well built, and I feel like a guy like Burns coming in to be the ace alongside Kodai Senga. Maybe you bring back a Luis Severino. Maybe you bring back a Sean Manaea. There's definitely great options out there, but the most pivotal piece of them all is Juan Soto. And Juan Soto, I feel like, complements Francisco Lindor, Mark Vientos, Brandon Nimmo. He complements them so well because he's the big threat that they needed Pete Alonso to be down the stretch, which Pete Alonso did show up in the playoffs, but we know he had a bit of a down season. Now, imagine entering a matchup against the Mets where you have a Frankie Lindor leading off, Mark Vientos following him, possibly Juan Soto going third or Pete Alonso going third, and you have Juan Soto cleaning up. Like, that's a great lineup for this team entering a new era. And if you lock down Juan Soto for another 15 years, then it's gonna be nothing but blue skies for New York Mets fans all across the world. Juan Soto will also be coming into a different culture than what is happening right now in the Bronx. In Queens right now at the moment, like, it's vibrant, it's alive, it's everything you want to be a part of as a player. You could be in comparison with how Saquon Barkley has moved from the Giants to the Eagles, and how he's flourished in a completely new environment, a new culture, and he's able to be himself. You can expect that, where if he's going from the Yankees to the Mets, you're going to an owner like Steve Cohen and Alex Cohen, who value the players on a personal level, and that's what you want. You want the backing of your ownership. You want the backing of your management, and you want to know that they have your best interests at heart. I do believe that is the one key element that the Mets can offer above any of the other suitors, especially the Yankees. Outside of money, of course, because we know no other team is going to outbid the richest owner in baseball at the end of the day. The Mets have several advantages, which has been a rarity to say after decades and decades of experiencing the Wilpon era. Steve Cohen has put them in a position where we can expect this team to win a World Series championship within the next 3 to 4 years. And that can actually be accelerated if you land a guy like Juan Soto and then attack free agency as you should right after you sign him. So what will the offer for Juan Soto be like from the Mets? I would expect it to definitely surpass the $700 million range. Not by a wide margin. I would definitely put them in the $720, $730 million range. And I would definitely expect it to be several outs within this contract, whether it's after 3 years, whether it's after 4 years, or even 5 years. I would definitely expect them to want to test it out. I know a lot of people out there want to say, hey, like, if the Mets are investing big money, then Juan should invest in them as well, and I completely get that. But you got to look at them from both angles. Some players, they want more than just they want to buy in more in just the initial commitment and the initial conversation. They want to see longevity and how things are going to pan out. And it could be in his best interest that if this doesn't work out, then he's out after 3 years. And you know what? The money's off the books for the Mets. But if it does work out, then he opts in, and he has that security blanket of what he initially agreed on with Steve Cohen and David Stearns. So at the end of the day, it's not a matter of what Steve Cohen is willing to offer, what he's willing to do. It's truly a matter of, is Juan Soto going to say yes or no? And that's what Steve Cohen said at the owners' meetings. He seemed very confident. I mean, he hosted Juan Soto at his mansion in Beverly Hills. I mean, that's an approach that not too many other suitors took, as they all flew out to meet Juan Soto instead. Juan coming to Steve's domain, my apologies, it shows a comfort level. It shows how much he values him on a different level as opposed to every other owner, as opposed to every other team. Steve Cohen, I feel like, is taking the right approach because he's trying to find a common ground with Juan Soto and saying, hey, like, listen, you come into this team, you're family. You are my family, and you are part of the winning culture that I want to build here. So, do the Mets stand a chance against the Yankees? Absolutely. Do the Mets stand a chance against every other suitor? Absolutely. Money's out of the question. I feel like even culture is out of the question. Like, everything Juan wants in the team is right here in Queens. And again, it's just a matter of him saying yes or no. In that aspect, only time will tell. Hopefully we have a decision coming soon. One way or another, the anxiety is bound to end sooner rather than later. I do want to thank all of you for tuning in to our first episode of Mets Post, where, again, we'll cover the latest in Mets news, updates, scores, complete breakdowns. We're going to attack free agency as hard as possible. In the next episode, we'll look at Plan B options if Soto does not sign with the Mets. And hell, we'll even look at options where if Soto does sign with the Mets, who can they attack and who can they go after to round out their roster. So until then, I'm Brian Cameron. This is Mets Post. Go Mets.